Bitter Cold Commonwealth with ENB Depth of Field by Bearded Wonder 95. If you've paid attention to my YouTube channel for modding specifically, you may have seen a couple of Bearded Wonder's mods. I like his work a great deal. I greatly appreciate the fact that he goes through the effort of making this stuff because honestly I don't have the talent for it. I've got the patience, just not the talent. And there's nothing sadder than not having the talent. Bearded Wonder starts off his mod by stating this: "Fuck the Creation Club." Now that he has that out of the way, he wants to get to the mod. The Bitter Cold Commonwealth description reads as such: your son has been taken and your wife has been murdered right before your helpless eyes. The world you once knew is no more. The Commonwealth is a harsh and unforgiving land, and the atmosphere should reflect that. Inspired by the Pathos ENB, the mod author, no, Bixby.
Ready and waiting. What's going on?
I'm busy, Bixby, please. Great, just great. Go away, Bixby. Inspired by the Pathos ENB, I present the Bitter Cold Commonwealth Reshade preset. I set out with one goal with this reshade: to make it stylistically cold. The colors have been desaturated, but more appealing. The lighting is stronger, but more ominous. Even on bright and sunny days, there is a dreadful feeling that won't leave the back of your mind. And in overcast weather, there will be seemingly no hope in this godforsaken land. I can honestly say, if you want the truest extent of this mod in all of its glory, I would check out the video the mod author has on his description page. The editing style is brilliant and it truly brings to life this ENB in my personal opinion. I can't do it any justice on that level of editing at all. The rest reads out as your basic description. You will have to read it to the letter because it's Reshade 3.0, and I find that Reshade 3.0, though it is superior to previous iterations, it is harder to work with for some people. It's not that it's that complicated, but there are little nuances that tend to throw someone off. If that's an issue for you, just remember to stick to the description, and it won't be that hard. It just takes a little bit more effort. Not much though, so don't worry. My overall consensus from this ENB is exactly what the mod author has already stated. It is reminiscent of Pathos, but I don't feel it's as demanding on my hardware as Pathos is. Also, I find it to be very stylistic, which I like a lot personally. I feel that it's the perfect ENB/reshade for cinematic work. In the sense of, if you like making little videos in your Fallout, this may be the one to get for you. While editing it, everything seemed to pop more to me, rather than when I was actually playing. Probably because my focus wasn't on the ambience of the ENB itself, but the task at hand within the game, leaving me to completely ignore what was going on with the overall visual aesthetics. But when I went back to edit it, I then was able to enjoy the majesty, the design, and the thought process that the mod author was going for with this very cinematic, cold feel. This may not be for everyone. There are a lot of people who don't like cinematic ENBs and reshades with a cold vibe. But for me, I find it to be phenomenal. Personal preference, always. Different strokes for different folks. But if you're like me and you like Pathos ENB, this may be an alternative for you if you're interested in trying something else if you've used Pathos for a while. I also like what Reshade 3.0 can offer over Reshade 1.0 or 2.0 is the fact that the depth of field is very dynamic in design, whereas to depth of field in older Reshade ENBs are kind of static, like you look at one thing then it depth of fields. This one has a sort of more realistic feel to it. Like if you focus on one thing, everything else is kind of blurred, then you move your focus and your focus moves with it in the correct sort of way versus it kind of being a tunnel vision depth of field. I love it for that reason alone. I wish Pathos has it. If Pathos has a 3.0, which I wouldn't be surprised if it does, I might have to look into that. Another thing to basically love here. Also, I feel this reshade really comes to life in third person for me. It also looks great in first person, but third person is what I like the most simply because the focus is so heavy on the player character. But once you switch to combat mode, the depth of field shifts. I love that. I think it's great. It is a nice change. I was like, oh wow, this is cool. So if you're using, this has become one of my favorite reshades. I dare almost say that maybe there's a possibility that the reshade looks slightly different on my end than it does from the mod authors. And that could be user error, which can always be a huge factor in modding your games. Always remember, if something doesn't work, before going to the message boards to yell at the mod author, double check your work, or even triple check, because often the mistake is our own, especially 3.0. I can honestly say that I like this ENB. It is fantastic for screenshots. It is fantastic for making videos. If you are into doing cinematic videos for Fallout, this might be the reshade for you. It has an overall look and aesthetic feel of cold, dead, forgotten, lost, bitter wasteland. Nothing fucking matters here, and I love it. I completely love that about it. If you are into darker, gloomier, depressing, sad ENBs / reshades, this one is probably something worth giving a check out. And on that note, I should probably get out of here. The video may be longer than my audio, simply because there was so much video I took of this, and it was hard to sort of break down what I wanted to use. You know what I mean? It's like you sit there, you record all this stuff, you're like, oh, this looks good too, this looks good. I want to keep this under 10 minutes, because not every video has to be 10 minutes. But with this ENB, I found myself struggling with what I could use and what I could get rid of, and what was better than something else, and the pros and cons of this and that, and is this too far out of context as far as editing cuts go? What the fuck am I doing? I'm not Martin Scorsese, I'm such a douchebag. And that is a good sign of an ENB. If you're using an ENB and your biggest issue with the damn thing is, what parts can I use to make a video out of? Shit, there's a lot to choose from here. Fuck. And on that note, it's as good as any to leave, I'd say. I will definitely have to edit this once again to make it shorter. You know the whole spiel. Rate, comment, subscribe if you so choose to, because I can't ask anyone to give more of a shit than me in the age of apathy. But if you do so choose to, you know, follow me or support me in any way you see fit, which basically at this point is, you know, like, commenting, subscribing, follow me on social media. Not because I'm that funny in Twitter, you know, it's basically me going after companies and talking about what shit snacks they are. But simply because the more people that follow me, the louder my voice gets. And the only thing these companies respond to is when there's a guy who's saying, this is fucked up, it needs to be fixed, and he has like a few million people behind him, and they sit there and go, well, maybe we might need to fix something. Versus a guy who's got 8 friends following him, and he's like, these loot boxes are fucked up, they need to be fixed. And EA is like, yeah, go eat a dick, loser. And on that note, I'm out of here. Thank you for spending time with me, checking out this ENB, and never forget to endorse mods you like. Never forget. I know it's easy. It's very easy to forget. Like, you like a mod, you don't even think twice about endorsing it until like a few weeks or month later when it gets updated and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to endorse that. And always remember that, you know, donating to mod authors on the Nexus is very welcome to them. Every time I've donated to a mod author, they've been really nice. You know, I didn't expect to hear anything back, but you know, they did. And in the sense of, you're supporting freedom and creativity on the Nexus. There's no paywall. Like, it's always easier to give money when it's of your volition. Whereas with the Creation Club and Bethesda, they set fucking prices on everything they're doing. And a lot of the stuff they put prices on is not worth what they're charging. And I'm not going to get into a soapbox about Bethesda and how I feel with them basically trying to ruin modding for the sole purpose of making money and putting it under the guise of supporting modders. It's a lot like wars to me. I know this is a little political, but I'm just saying, you know, the war on terror back when Bush was in control really didn't do much for terror, but it made a lot of oil tycoon guys go from being millionaires to billionaires. And then they sit there and go, we're protecting your freedoms. If you don't support this war, you don't support soldiers. And it feels reminiscent to that of me. I know, please forgive that moment of politicalness, if you will. And I'm definitely getting out of here this time. It's gone on too long. Forgive me. Quickly, Smokey, hit the stop button.